Get ready for the action, because Conor McGregor is making a massive return to the Ultimate Fighting Championship. We are talking about the Dubliner taking on Max Holloway in a highly anticipated non-title rematch scheduled for July 11th in Las Vegas. This is the fighter who has captivated the world for years, and we dive deep into everything we know about his comeback, the history of their previous clashes, and what this fight truly means for the UFC landscape. Next up, we dissect the results, the decision-making, and the surprising finishes that made this event a must-see. Finally, we look at the aftermath of UFC Fight Night 276, focusing on the detailed statistics from the card, highlighting the impressive stoppage rates of fighters like Doo Ho Choi and the historic achievements of Ketlen Vieira and Alice Ardalian. Don't miss any of the analysis. Subscribe to our newsletter now, and follow us on all social media for more breaking news. Conor McGregor is set to make a highly anticipated return to the Ultimate Fighting Championship octagon, facing Max Holloway in a non-title rematch on July 11 in Las Vegas. This marks McGregor's first fight in 5 years, following an injury sustained in a loss to Dustin Poirier on July 10, 2021. The scheduled bout at UFC 329 will serve as a rematch of their second encounter, which took place in August 2013 in Boston, where McGregor defeated Holloway despite suffering a torn knee ligament. McGregor, the former two-weight champion and a prominent figure in the UFC, has navigated significant challenges outside the cage. In 2024, he faced legal issues, being found liable and ordered to pay approximately $250,000 in damages related to an accusation of rape in Ireland. Additionally, a civil lawsuit alleging sexual assault at an NBA game in Miami was dropped by the accuser, and McGregor was previously suspended for 18 months after missing 3 drug tests, although he later escaped a longer ban after cooperating with a doping investigation. The UFC announced the McGregor vs. Holloway matchup during the first MMA promotion by Jake Paul's Most Valuable Promotions, a card in Los Angeles that also featured Ronda Rousey's return against Gina Carano. MMA activity was intense this weekend, featuring major bouts from Jake Paul's inaugural MMA event and a lower-profile UFC Fight Night. The event featured high-profile matchups, including Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano concluding their retirement spells, alongside former UFC heavyweights Francis Ngannou and Junior Dos Santos, and fan favorites Nate Diaz and Mike Perry. In the UFC, the card included Arnold Allen facing Melquizael Costa, and Doo Ho Choi pursuing a third consecutive victory over Daniel Santos. A notable point of discussion was the prelim matchup between ranked women's bantamweights Ketlen Vieira and Jacqueline Cavalcanti. Despite a competitive first round, Vieira secured a dominant decision after successfully securing a takedown, leaving Cavalcanti looking lost and hesitant to engage offensively on the mat. Analysts suggest Vieira's grinding style may limit her appeal as an exciting contender in the division. Exciting developments were also noted outside the main UFC events. Saladin Parnasse demonstrated significant threat by knocking out Kenneth Cross with a body punch, marking his 15th finish in 23 wins and opening up career options, including potential moves to boxing or the PFL. Major news centered on Conor McGregor's return to the UFC. It is confirmed that McGregor will rematch Max Holloway in the main event of UFC 329, his first fight in over 5 years. This high-profile bout is seen as a strategic move by the UFC to generate hype for Paramount Plus subscriptions. Additionally, the PFL is set to host a major event in Brussels, featuring Patrick Haberora welcoming former UFC lightweight champion Benson Henderson back to the sport. Overall takeaways from the weekend highlight the dynamic nature of the sport, the challenges facing certain fighters, and the strategic maneuvering within major promotions. UFC Vegas 117 and MVP MMA proved competition is great for fight fans. Saturday, May 16, 2026, marked a memorable day in mixed martial arts as two major events ran concurrently. The UFC focused on an Apex card headlined by Arnold Allen and Melquizael Costa, while Most Valuable Promotions, MVP, presented its inaugural MMA card at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood, California, featuring major names including Ronda Rousey, Gina Carano, Nate Diaz, Mike Perry, and Francis Ngannou. Despite the tribal atmosphere surrounding the events, many viewers found watching both cards simultaneously highly entertaining. While the UFC card featured memorable performances, Arnold Allen delivered a disciplined, wrestling-heavy performance that showcased his potential as a rising contender, though his boxing showed limitations. Other highlights included Doo Ho Choi's finish of Daniel Santos, an upset victory for Juan Diaz over Malcolm Wellmaker in his UFC debut, and a historic moment on the preliminary card when Alice Ardalian secured the first-ever capsule lock submission in UFC history. The Rousey vs. Carano bout was deemed uncompetitive, though understandable given the long layoffs and status of the fighters. Other compelling action included a war between Nate Diaz and Mike Perry, a devastating first-round knockout by Francis Ngannou, and brutal finishes from Robles Despaini on Junior Dos Santos and Jason Jackson on Jeff Creighton. A significant point of discussion was the disparity in fighter compensation. The MVP card featured massive paydays, with Rousey, Carano, and Ngannou all earning over $1 million, contrasting sharply with the lowest-paid fighters on the card at $40,000, which is significantly higher than the UFC's lowest-tier fighter pay. This highlights the choice offered by outlets like MVP MMA, allowing fighters to prioritize better earnings earlier in their careers outside the UFC structure. The report also touches on ongoing fan and pundit criticism regarding the UFC's programming, suggesting that alternative promotions like MVP MMA offer a valuable counterpoint. The emergence of these alternative products may signal a future expansion of fight nights outside the Apex and a greater spread of notable talent. The commentary concludes that promotional competition breeds new life in the MMA landscape, suggesting that the promotional war is ultimately a win for the fans. UFC Fight Night 276 concluded Saturday, marking the end of the UFC's 12-week event run, featuring several notable results despite not being among the most memorable cards of the stretch. The main event drew significant attention as Arnold Allen secured a unanimous decision victory over Melquizael Costa at Meta Apex in Las Vegas, advancing Allen to the fourth fighter with a dozen featherweight victories in the octagon. The event generated $167,000 in UFC promotional guidelines compliance payouts. Debuting fighters performed well, going 2-2 at the event, while several fighters received significant bonuses, including $100,000 for Doo Ho Choi, Daniel Santos, Juan Diaz, and Alice Ardalian, and $25,000 for 5 other finishers. Betting favorites dominated the card with a 9-4 record, improving to 6-8 in UFC headliners this year, with 2 main events featuring even odds. The total fight time for the 13-bout card clocked in at 2 hours, 30 minutes, and 52 seconds. Statistical highlights revealed significant patterns across the roster. Doo Ho Choi demonstrated exceptional finishing prowess, earning 15 of his 17 career victories by stoppage, with 14 of those being by knockout, tying him for third most in divisional history behind Max Holloway and Cub Swanson in 6 knockout victories in UFC bantamweight competition. Daniel Santos marked a career milestone by suffering his first stoppage loss via knockout. Malcolm Wellmaker experienced a career turning point, suffering his first stoppage loss via submission defeat. Conversely, Christian Edwards has suffered 3 of his 5 career losses by decision. In women's bantamweight, Ketlen Vieira's record is impressive, boasting 9 of her 10 UFC victories by decision, placing her third in divisional history behind Amanda Nunes and Raquel Pennington. Alice Ardalian also showed strong finishing ability, achieving the first submission victory in UFC history with a capsule lock. Other notable performances included Modestas Bukauskas improving his record since his February 2023 return, and Cody Brundage snapping a 4-fight winless skid with her first victory since March 2025, accumulating 11 of her 12 career victories by stoppage. The card featured a diverse array of outcomes, with several fighters experiencing career highs or lows, including Ivan Ersland snapping a losing skid, Artur Minev losing his 7-fight winning streak, and Andrei Petroski facing his longest 3-fight losing skid.